And welcome back to the Wholesome Home, the house of the wholesome hosts. And yeah, we back again with another topic. Still keeping true and honest to our topics of the week. We talking about mental health, man. We're still gonna keep true to that for quite a while. And today we've got this thing called trauma bonding, guys. So basically, trauma bonding is, hey, when you're in a relationship with a toxic person, an abusive person, and you see nothing wrong with it, and you just believe that everything's okay. And yeah, so basically, for those of you that don't like understand trauma bonding to its core, it's basically being in a toxic relationship, basically, you know? So yeah, so trauma bonding is just being in a relationship with someone that abuses you and seeing it as a norm and seeing yourself as that person's relief. So yeah, let's step right into it.
I'm gonna just start it off with an example, with using myself as an example, because as I was researching, I realized that I was also part of a trauma bonding relationship. But the twist is, it was not even abuse. Sometimes you create a mental image in your head that this person's perfect for you, and you develop an unhealthy attachment towards that person. I was with this girl. I won't be mentioning names, but I was with this girl for a very long time, for a couple of years, a long time, and we always spent time together. And throughout that entire encounter, it felt as if this girl was perfect for me. She loved the same things I like. She's the one who drew this. She drew that poster, hand drawn, and to a certain extent, I felt like she was the only one meant for me. So it took a couple of conversations. For me to understand, Uti, I am actually an imperfect gent. And
Yeah, the,
the idea of love that I was chasing wasn't perfect. It was trauma bonding. I was
An
chasing
idea.
an idea of what love could be, but it's just an unhealthy and an imaginative feeling. I was chasing feel. That's why I was like, love is a skill. Love is not feeling, it's a skill. You learn how to love a person, you learn how to coexist with the person, and you actually accept a person for their imperfections and whatever good that they bring, and you act accordingly because you teach someone how you love, like you teach
and
someone
that's
how
why
to love you.
I also don't believe in soulmates just because of what you just said there.
Yeah, dog. It's a
So
facade
you
people
teach someone how
create.
to love?
Yeah, you teach
Yeah,
someone
you
how to
teach them.
love you, and that person teaches you how to
How to
love
love
them.
them.
Yeah,
That's why a lot of the relationships, umuntu magati, this person has to know exactly what I'm thinking and what to do. This person has to read my mind. You read, like, now I realize how toxic it is, because it's chasing a perfect type of relationship, and that
not
does
such
not
a thing.
exist.
Yeah,
And then when some people when like those people like you say love is a skill, right? When people can't master their skill, they claim that your standards are too high.
It's
yeah.
too high or it's too low. There's no boundaries, and people expect you to accept a lot of the controversial ideas that they have about base virtually anything.
The perfect start to a relationship is finding someone where, in your imperfections,
Yeah,
they pretty good at what you are imperfect at, and that what they are imperfect at, you're pretty good at. That's how you can build a strong relationship. So the point is having a perfect imperfection. I don't think you guys will. If you understand me, good. If you don't understand me, I'll explain. A perfect imperfection is basically if, for example, I'm an athlete. It is devised in people's minds that an athlete is an idiot, right?
Stereotype. Yeah,
So yeah.
Common
So
stereotype.
I'm an athlete, but I used to get good grades in high school, and I'm still doing the same in tertiary.
yeah.
And the thing is that for me, I hated emotion. Like I hated it. I got to a point where
I really did.
I locked down my emotions for years, bro. Like I would not let anybody in. And it would take like 6 months, a year, 2 years for me to actually consider even showing you a smidgen of affection. And I got into a relationship with someone that just smothered me with affection. I started learning how to let people in, you know. Not everybody is out there to attack you. So I started learning how to let people in, and she also started learning how to close down to protect from those people that are trying to break her heart. So that's the point of a relationship, and that's why relationships succeed. Where they are imperfect, you become the perfect fix or the perfect fit,
That's why they
and
say,
vice versa.
yeah, that's why they say opposites attract in that
Yeah.
sense.
And
Mm,
I kinda thinking back now, like what you said. Now I realize that I actually been in a trauma porn. You know, like
That's why I wanted to speak about it because a lot of people don't realize it.
I feel like
And
all of our
people,
first
Epiphany, like
loves are trauma bonds if you think about it. Well, if your first love was like later on in your life, if it was like earlier on in your life, then it probably wasn't even your first love.
like I've told with you, you chase what you're familiar with. And if what
Yeah.
you're familiar with is toxic relationships, then you're gonna keep chasing it. That's what you know. And I think I've been touching on the subject a lot as I've been conversing with people. Noguti, people do what they know. If what they know is Hans giving them attention because a certain type of action that they do, they're gonna keep doing it, even if it's cringy to Omunyu Muntu. They're gonna keep doing it. Now, when it comes to trauma bonding, it's like when they say love is based on emotion, love is praised as impulse, then that's where you get the idea wrong. Because if you chase what you're familiar with and what gives you that impulse is that avoidant person, is that person that hurts you, and it's the person that gives you the most toxic of reactions. When people base love off of impulse, when you say Uguti, you gotta chase your feeling. If this person makes your heart thump hard, makes your heart skip a beat, right? If that's the idea of love that has to be chased, and what you're familiar with is what you're chasing, is what makes you kind of suffer, because as human beings, when we chase for something, we want to suffer for, like, to some degree, because, like, again, there's some form of feeling that you've gotten from childhood, right? And growing up, even if you meet the perfect person, it's not gonna feel right because they don't make you suffer in a sense where you're familiar with, right? Let's say manje, for example, your parents, whenever you did something good, they would award you, but when you did something bad, you'd get punished, right? Basic example. Now, in a relationship, what do you think is going to build up? Some people form a minor, it can vary, but you develop a sense of people pleasing, right? You
Yeah.
do something, you do something to to feel good, to feel. I'm not gonna lie, I've felt that, and I'm still battling that. Sometimes it came across as thinking, "Uti, it's something I'm doing good, I'm doing good," but nah, dog, it's like it's some form of validation that I needed in a sense for the longest of times. So, right, now diverting that into a relationship to keep it short, if you chase what gives you that sort of impulse, of course you're gonna go back to the toxic ex, because the toxic ex is the person that made you feel good. If you like high drama relationships and if you like that sort of adrenaline rush, that's what you're gonna keep chasing. That's why I'm gonna add on Luguti. The thing Luguti, nice guys finish last is not a proper saying to use because it's not based on love. It's based on your own traumatic things,
Yeah.
and then you project it onto a relationship, and that isn't like it isn't good, because like a lot of hands have even like daddy issues, and then they're gonna go for a certain
Mm.
type of gent and they're gonna go for a certain type of gent. and uthole ukuthi that gent reminds them of the way that they've suffered throughout their relationship with the father that they have, or a certain guardian that they had. You get? So that's why again, love is not based on emotion and what and impulse. Love is a skill that you need to work on, to build. You need to build your ability to love. Jola is not a pandemic. Jola bulali. It's you killing your own relationships and you killing your way of loving someone.
It's
This is my
tricky.
piece.
It's tricky. We can always say to people, don't let trauma control you. It's us having to teach, because that's what we here for. We have to teach people to identify what is trauma. If for the life of you, look, let me start on the basis. Bakuchitela the first time, walk,
Clean.
walk,
And like after you see red flags, just start walking, bro.
walk.
That
Gents,
is not your favorite
On that
color.
note,
Yeah, red is my favorite
gents,
color, though,
Oh,
gents,
but yeah, I
but
get
Theo,
you.
take
gents,
off that jacket, dog.
gents,
Take it off.
gents,
on
but
that
like,
note, yeah, yeah, I am a reflex. Sorry to interrupt you, Ofentse. You know,
oh,
I noticed something, Tens. Red flags, you see them earlier on. It's just that you don't
Yeah, I
notice
saw
them.
a gang of them
yeah,
and I'm eyes. They are like,
yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
all I'm
Because
start
you
saying.
seeing
think
red
Think
you can
flags in
about
fix
the
that.
them.
honeymoon
Because
stage.
you think you can fix them. Or maybe it'll
yeah,
change on
that's
its
the
own.
thing.
But it doesn't.
Flex with the savior
but
complex.
At
like
It
some
never
point,
works
speaking
these
out.
speaking
flags
of
turn
red
into
flags, ne,
habits.
Wait,
and cheating.
Amandla, is there something wrong with the recording again?
Nah, nothing's wrong. I wanted to say something. You say if
Or
someone
I
cheats
talk
on the first
Go,
try, ne, you buy. But cheating has become a norm.
is not a norm, though.
Okay, it's not a norm, but like you're
Amanda.
more likely to be cheated
Gonna kick
on
your ass.
than not.
Is it not?
You're more likely to be cheated on than not.
Let me be
So you're
honest.
gonna leave every time.
Let me be honest. Let me tell you facts. Cheating has not become a norm. Social media has made cheating seem like a norm. There
Yes.
are multiple relationships where this person has been in the relationship from beginning to end without
Out
any cheating.
cheating.
You know,
Exactly.
it's
Notice
become
how most
a
relationships are
fashion.
controlled by social media.
Bro,
Social
a lot
media
of
ruins
relationships are controlled by
relationships.
social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's become a fashion. Hence why I'm saying everything has become a fashion. Like you hear girls and they're like, "What's your type?" Nah, my type is a guy with money. My type is a toxic relationship, a toxic guy. My type is this, my
Yeah.
type is that. That's not their type. If you were to meet them face to face in the hood or face to face in the burbs, and you were like, "What's your type?" They'll give you their actual type. But because of social media, and that's what's trending at that point, then that's what they'll say. Like we can go back to the first episode. I said this before and I said it again. Back in the day, yellow bones used to be the it thing. I want a yellow bone guy. Now it's a
Yeah.
dark guy. I want myself some chocolate. It's all about social media. It's all about who's who. If I'm telling you now, if
It's
right
like
now
weed.
with the whole Kim Kardashian and Kanye divorce, right? If Kim was to say, I'm gonna go and date a white man, right? Or I'm gonna go get married to a white guy or to a Chinese guy or whatever. Everybody that believes and follows in this whole Kim image will
Yeah.
start saying, "I want a white guy. I want this." It's a fact of social media. Trauma bonding lies in your type. If your type is to accept nonsense from day one and have nonsense follow you the rest of your life, then that will be your type for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You understand?
Straight up.
If you are in shit with your family or with your friends and you can't say, look, with respect, I understand your viewpoint, but one, two, three, four, five that you said was out of pocket in my perspective, then going into a relationship, you won't be able to do that. And that's going to lead you into a traumatic relationship and a toxic relationship. And then you're going to start trauma bonding. Trauma bonding starts with the smallest things, bruh. Like we said, you can see the red flags at the beginning, but you want to play Bob the Builder. You think you can fix everyone, bruh. You can't fix everything in this world. Try and actually find the person that is compatible to you. Because I can tell you something. I went through a lot of women in my life, and it took one woman, bruh, one,
Alright.
shattering me.
As Ofentse was talking about science, so there's this doctor named her name is Marnie A. White. Don't mind the irony. She lists like key signs to look in a traumatic bond. And I was going through these, and some of these things you actually tick off. Like you can look at your life and basically tick off. So what she basically says is, um, you feel unhappy and may not even like your partner any longer, but you still feel unable to end things. When you try to leave, you feel physically and emotionally distressed.
Feel guilty. Yeah.
When you want to leave, they promise to change but make no effort to actually do so. You fixate on the good days,
Oh, been in that situation.
using them as proof that they truly care. You make excuses and defend their behavior when others express concern. You continue to trust them and hope to change them. You protect them by keeping abusive behaviors a secret. And like,
Won't lie, after reading that, looking back, I feel embarrassed, yeah.
yeah,
Because of
You're
the
Not
also
shit
gonna
I
in
lie,
put
one.
in.
gents.
You're
The
in
biggest
one, right?
realization I've made out of the relationship I've been in, you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed.
Exactly,
You
dude.
literally can't.
and like if there's there's a thing like superficial relationships, like you're just there, just for the sake of it. No one wants to walk away, or you don't want to walk
Yeah.
away. That's like trauma bonding. Like it doesn't have to be
I feel like
abusive, even
I
doesn't
feel
have
like
to
that's
be
what
abusive. Like just you feeling that something ain't right, but you can't leave. You just can't walk away for some weird reason.
I feel like that also has to do with the fear of being lonely. That's why some people stay in relationships because they
That out
fear
of
being alone.
reluctance or pity.
Mm, mm.
Umuntu develops a sense of abandonment, because again, this thing can stem from childhood. So there could be various examples of abandonment, but primarily uzothola there's a parent that's like being hectically distant, and you'd hardly get to see them. Or some people have a parent that's not present, right? And then throughout the entirety of whatever relationships that they're in, they're gonna have the sense of this person is abandoning me. It also comes with your reactions to a lot of situations too, right? So the fear of being lonely and thinking that you're addicted to love because of love bombing, as
Mhm.
those are also other forms of trauma bonding, right? Because again, you want that excessive amount of emotion that another person gives you. You want umuntu to understand you deeply. You want umuntu ukuthi, you know, they show that they care, show a lot of affection. And once that drops, now you have a reaction, Uguti, this person's acting shady. This person's gonna leave me. Now you're starting to become what they call anxiously attached. And when you become anxiously attached to someone, you start becoming strict. Now that's why some boys come off as possessive, or some hands come off as obsessive when it comes to,
Yeah.
because now they will become very strict, very tense now, asking you where you been, why you here, instead of it being a cry for help, Noguti, instead of being them open. Another thing that's hectic, instead of being open with their emotions, they react in a certain way that comes off as harsh and strict, but in actual fact they want to say Uti, you're being distant, you are being you, it feels like we are in Shia. What's going on? That's why people say communication is key, because umuntu will not be able to express their feelings, and umuntu sometimes isn't comfortable with receiving feelings because they themselves are avoidant. The emo phase and the whole phase, those are choices. Those
Yep.
are not those are choices. You never get it wrong. You choose to be with multiple partners because you are running away from the fact that you cannot handle your own emotions. And you, okay, not all of us, not everyone, but uthola ukuthi umuntu is really running away from themselves by being with multiple partners. They cannot commit to one partner, and they're gonna blame it on compatibility. Again, love is a skill. The point I was trying to make, Uguti, a whole phase and not is not a, you cannot stay
Yeah.
within that one committed relationship because a person Tolu Tumutu can challenge you, can challenge your character, and you're too stubborn to realize that sometimes you're the issue. When if you're still running away from those emotions,
Yeah.
it's not them, it's you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but some people are also still in a trauma bond relation because of other people, not necessarily themselves, but because someone will be like, "Oh, you guys look so good together," and for years they want to look good together their whole life. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
dog, yo, I
when
hate that.
people are away and it's just the two of them, it's hell, bruh. Like it's pits. Like everyone is in their own room. Look, if at some point you maybe you live together and you're sleeping in separate rooms, that should tell you that it's chai. Like you know, like I get the oh, you said this at the date today, so go and sleep on the couch. That's fine. But if you're going on 4 months, 2 months, 4 months, sleeping in
Sleeping in
separate
separate.
rooms,
Mm.
that's chai home. That is chai. If the minute that person walks in, your face changes, your emotional being just like you get drained.
Your mood, yeah.
Leave, leave. Like,
Your
please, guys,
dog, what are your
leave.
thoughts, dog? Been
Listening,
awfully
fam. I'm
quiet.
trying to talk. I'm trying to talk here and there, but I'm
You're
listening.
scaring us, dog. Where's the angle of that flashlight, dog?
The thing
This
is,
nigga screen comes off, dog, and then everybody's camera turns off, and then it's Theo, dog.
dog, now that you mentioned the whole trauma bonding, I'm not gonna mention names, ne? But then,
Mm.
like, when she found out that I couldn't fit like the
Box.
whole space she had, like she had, there was a what do you call a void? Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. When she
Oh,
found out I couldn't
void,
fit,
yeah.
For the void that was left by the previous
not a previous
person.
person,
Uh-huh.
a father to her, right? So
Okay,
Oh
yeah,
shit, I
okay,
think I
okay.
so
know who you're
she
talking about.
yeah, so she viewed me like that. So now that you guys are talking, now I'm in my thoughts. I'm thinking, now that you mention it, because she did say it the first time, like, yo, dog, I thought you would fit and like you would fill that void up, but unfortunately you don't. And then
No
she
lie,
ended
that's
the relationship like that, dog.
no
But then I
lie.
And
kept
I
going.
did say daddy issues, dog. Some people that have
No
hectic
lie.
daddy issues.
That's messed up.
Whoa.
How the heck are you supposed to replace her father's position in her life? You
That's what
are
I
supposed
You
to
thought.
be
could
the
That's
never.
what I
husband, not the
thought.
father.
That's what I thought. But then one thing that shocked me, dog, I went back.
Yeah, you're back. I know.
So now that you guys are talking about it, now I see how good he
It's an unhealthy attachment.
It's
yeah.
not
Because
just
that's why I was like,
time.
a savior complex will lead you to becoming part of a trauma bonding relationship. It's happened to me. So for me, what happened was this girl. I'm not gonna mention what happened to her. I'm not gonna mention not a
Name.
stuff. I just know Uguti. It did mess her up mentally. And Nakona, um, like shit didn't seem to go right. Like a person where they're like, yo, dog, some like bad shit just keeps happening, but they tough it out. I felt like I could be that comforter. I felt like I could be that person because the way we interacted, you could say it was like that. She could be comfortable around me. She could talk about things she never used to like open up about.
Yeah.
And to a sense, that's why it felt like I was meant to give it
Yeah.
because I believe in the whole. I used to believe in the whole soulmate thing. It's like, okay, now I'm with this person. I was brought to be with this person so that I can help her. And then, basing a lot of stuff that I've seen through media too, that we're a perfect match. But that kept everything. I felt like the universe, Gisho Ndedluzilamo was trying to say, dog, this is not gonna happen. Because everything started to crumble, and when it started crumbling, it crumbled. It hurt me. The sad music, couple XXX Tentacion, those songs that make you wanna kinda like like go to the breaking point of offing yourself. It's like
Yeah.
it kept circling towards that, and I could never stop it. Direct quotes. I remember this quote as 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 far off as I was mentally. It's like, if it's tried for this hand, it's tried for me. That's how
Sure.
deep it went. You
Yeah,
know, I was like, if
I'll
it's
never forget
tried
that
for this
night.
hand, it's tried for me. And Tumelo was there, dog. Tumelo was listening to me, dog. I was like, I'm sourcing people. I'm like, dog, let's fight to the swimming pool. It's like, this fight, dog. Now I need to. We promised each other we're gonna swim. G, huh?
Yeah.
We go there, dog. And I think I was thinking out loud. If it's tried for this hand, it's tried for me. Things happened, dog, and they ended up having to put me to bed because it was like, now I am screaming, bawling. I didn't care about the standard people put Chubuti. Gents can't cry. I cried. I cried. It took one of my friends almost having to beat me up to have them listen to
Sounds
me.
like offense.
Now, Ofentse was there.
No, it wasn't me. I was there, but
He was there. It
I
wasn't
wouldn't beat
me.
him up.
It was Risa. But point is, it can run deeply psychologically too, because if you keep going back, it never helps with your healing process. If you're in a trauma bonding relationship or a friendship, even, right? It's good for you to have a lot more people around you instead of discarding people and saying, nah, dog, these people are against me. Listen to the advice. I know it's good in theory and in practice is difficult, but it is really important to have people around you so that it doesn't feel like this one person is the only person that can fill the void that is within you. Because that's how I felt. And if I did not have my friends around me to talk some sense into me, and if I couldn't have conversations even with that person and try to find an alternative way and a sort of peaceful way to, you know, discuss everything that had happened, then I would have felt alone. And who knows, I might not even have been here today.
Who's
I
this
don't
one?
wanna.
For
I'll
for
tell
me,
you via
We
Yeah,
DMs.
have
we
to
We'll
go.
talk
talk.
We have to go
afterwards.
break her knee. Yeah.
I actually,
We'll
for
talk. I
me,
don't wanna mention.
like
I should.
Nah,
Offense
I'm not.
knows.
for me having been there, worst part is that Medi was in the vicinity. Um,
Mm.
Did she
having
even care?
having
Wait, wait.
been
Did
there,
she even
bruh.
care what was happening to the man's or?
No, do you know what happened?
She
You know
did.
what happened? She wasn't where I was. She was upstairs on the balcony, and I was downstairs by the swimming pool. While everything was happening downstairs, people by the balcony could not hear me because they were playing music. So they just had to move me from the swimming pool, and then they had to go. I had to go in, and then I slept in a separate room. Because do you know what happened? You know what happened? I was naive enough to think some form of, I don't know, some bond happened, some bonding could happen, and I slept in the same room as this Han. But seeing that shit didn't go that way, I exploded. So, as much as like I also have to be accountable for a lot of the stuff that I did, for the viewers, just know that it really is not your fault. because there's a lot of other factors that contributes to that type of type of way of thinking.
What this year has taught me is that it's difficult to control your feelings. So what you went through at that moment is it's understandable because not everybody has control over their emotions. So with that, I don't blame you at all because if I had to be put in a situation like that with
Who shall
an
not be
ex,
mentioned?
yeah,
Yeah.
which shall not be
But gents,
mentioned, I would have low key reacted in the same way.
I'm wondering that as we not mentioning names, what if this person actually like recognizes the story and like thinks like
Are they going
Why?
to?
and
Nah,
thinks
is
back
they
What
going?
can they do? What
and
can
thinks
they
back
do?
like
What can they
damn.
No,
do?
no, wait. Let me come with an appropriate response because Nina and Jay, y'all are like, fuck it.
We'd
But
like to shout you out because, like,
She's going to.
you're
honestly,
the
if
reason why we're making this nga
Yeah,
content.
yeah. For me, it's we spoke. You know, me and this person spoke, and I let her know everything because there were things that I can't disclose that happened that she kept, but I knew. And you know, as much as she's kept something that I knew, I've kept a lot of stuff like within, and then I had to let her know because the more I withheld some information and Uguti, some of the stuff that she did hurt me, and as much as we're basing it off of an interaction that wasn't really a relationship but seemed like one, you know, it really did hurt me to an extent. I spoke to her and she knows. So if she sees this, you carve, dog. um, like there's also a lot of stuff that I've kept because as much as I'm like, hey, yo, dog, this shit hurt. It would be bad for me to disclose some personal information as I don't want to disclose a lot of stuff that has affected her hectically, and I respect that. So I've only spoken on my side of the story, which I've already relayed to her. So yeah, that's why I feel comfortable speaking about
maybe we
this.
should
If
invite
if
her
my
one day and give. I'm just spitballing, but uh, hearing that you've spoken to her is quite good. And I was about to say like if y'all haven't talked to and if she doesn't give you an apology after seeing this after all she put you through. Not I'm not saying it's her fault. Yeah, but like
We 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 talked it out. Like I said, with me and past and people that I've dated in the past, not all of them. There's still some people that I hold deep resentment for. Like, yo, dude, I do not like, yo, bro, I hate this person because what they put me through, it isn't on this
Wait,
degree,
wait, wait.
on,
Metric.
yeah, matric. I deeply, yo,
I didn't even tell this person that I'd be mentioning her, so she finds this shy.
yeah, if my ex uses fu, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
man,
okay,
that is not a joke. That is not a joke.
Nah, she knows that I'm joking. She knows that I
But
still hold
anyway, yeah,
deep
like
love for.
there's like other people that I hate, right? There's people that
I'm
I
gonna
still
slap
haven't
those
come
glasses off
around
your
to be.
face, Teddy's, for saying that. What the hell?
okay,
What's this
Move, my
man
nigga,
saying?
move.
so gents,
Be like Standard Bank and move, man.
okay, so I actually wanted to give an example, man, but it's similar to Vuyo. It's basically the same thing. It's
Yeah,
exactly the same. So yeah, to the point where by God's grace, man, we never really like dated. I never actually asked her out. To this day, I don't know why,
yeah.
but there were days that I regretted it. I'm like, what if I actually asked her out? The thing is now, before
Mm.
through this interaction with her, there were red flags. Okay, not red flags during the interaction. Like people would tell me stuff like, "Nah, stay away from this hand." And I thought, no, nah, she ain't like that. I was being
Oh,
naive.
so n-
I legit being
mm,
naive, and I thought,
Yeah, being naive is
and I
dangerous.
thought
Yeah.
like I didn't see it. Like you legit don't see it. No, you don't see it at all,
Yeah.
Really
at
don't. It's
all,
tricky to try to pinpoint
at all. But yeah, by God's grace, I never asked out. Maybe it was fate or faith or whatever. But there were days where like
like
maybe I should ask out. I
just
think
fortunate Uguti it didn't
I actually told Fortune, not Fortune, Fuchs about it, and there was,
happen.
and we had this conversation like we
Mm.
had this conversation where I was like, no, I actually
fishing.
like this
Sorry.
hand, like, but I can't get over it, and it's been like years, and it was like after we like
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah.
we weren't as close anymore. It was like a while out, and then I'm like, I actually like this hand, and at that time I was still in a relationship, and I remember I said
Mm.
that uh so he asked me, what you gonna do? You're gonna tell her eventually you can't keep this in, and you like what you're gonna have to choose. And I'm against cheating them, so I wouldn't dream of cheating. So my answer was like, I'm gonna leave
Hello.
this hand that I'm with and go for her
Eh,
if she
That,
accepts.
that's painful though.
Uh,
Having to what do you call choose between people, and also having to be like an option is very painful. What I've learned is that
I'm
if
back.
I'm a choice to you, then forget about nuance.
If you walk into a relationship and someone else seems like a better option than me,
Yeah,
you already okay. In the past, it ignited some of the stuff that I've carried through, like not situationship, but the person that I was talking about. It ignited a lot of the remnants of whatever traumatic experience that I've experienced when it came to that. And it's like, why would I compete? Because back then it felt like I was competing for the son's attention. I was competing for whatever, you
yeah.
know. Utoluguti at some point, okay, I'm gonna mention something that I didn't mention to her, but there was a time where she was like, these people that I am with, well, this person that I'm with has similar qualities to you,
Uh,
yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, you know,
Yay.
you know. So that's why for me it was confusing. Like, does she like me? Doesn't she like me?
She likes me but
So
doesn't want me.
noticing that, likes me but she doesn't want. So it's like if I'm a be within that type of if I'm a be in that type of stage with a future person that I'm dating, then I really can't be with that person. But if you want to leave, you can leave. But the one thing that you should know is you should give yourself time and not rush into another relationship. Number one, and
yes.
give yourself time before you speak to this certain person again. Because if you still think of this person and you have that sort of that heartbeat, that's like cuckoo, they're like, hey, that Benny excitement, then it's still a sign of you being in a trauma bonding relationship with her. Still a possibility that you're gonna go back, and there's still a possibility that you might have, the same feelings towards her. And going back, like I've said, it just takes you back to that point before.
Advice is to cut off all contact because it's just the best thing to do.
To you.
To me.
Oh yeah, Tari.
Wait. Before
Yeah.
you give me advice, let me
Uh-huh.
say this. It's like, okay, with my ex, I myself was telling myself to what they call to cut off contact with this person. But it's a thing of saying without acting upon what you said. So I kept on saying, let me go a week without talking to her. Don't talk to her. Just do that. And I'll continuously talk to her. I'll most of the time, like I'd be angry at the fact that she has now blocked me, but I'm now seeing it as something that's actually helping me to stay away from her, to not rekindle feelings that were there for her. So you can understand. So Theo, before you give me
I
your
wasn't
advice,
giving you advice. I was saying that's what I told you to do.
okay, yeah,
Hey
what
guys,
you
am I
told me to
good?
do, yeah, you good. I I now see it, and I feel like whenever you do get out of a relationship, whether you guys were good friends before, just cut off contact for a while to I can't say the feelings are gonna die out, but to neutralize the feelings.
Reconciliation, like complete reconciliation.
No.
Like
For some people, but for some people, it's like it's difficult because at some point, if s- if even if it takes someone else saying it to you, you can see that this person is not going to change. It's circumstantial, but it really is good to cut off. Cutting off doesn't mean you cut off willy nilly. As much as you can reconcile with someone, you can speak to someone. That's if they have the appropriate amount of reasoning to be able to
Yeah,
receive your feelings.
Going back to like Vuyo's story or his narration of his toxic, like having been there as a friend, like seeing your best friend want to end his life, that that messed me up a lot. That really did. Um, and like when they say a person's heartbroken, they physically get sick.
yeah,
Bruh, I saw that. I literally saw my boy go from happy chappy on the day we arrived to I hate myself and I want to die by night before we left. I I I literally saw that whole transition and I felt shit because as someone that had gone through depression because of the very same thing, because of the girl and other pent up things that I had from my past.
yeah,
And I'm not talking depression, alone, yeah, I'm sad, nobody loves me, No, I'm talking about shit like real shit, pulls and stuff. I realized we as humans don't host mental awareness. It's become taboo in our nation to speak about these guys. Look, if you've got issues with your family members, your friends, your relationship, talk to someone about it and then go and have them help you or mediate you addressing this matter because hence why we have a high suicide rate around the world in teenagers. It is painful to keep things in, and it's the reason why you kill yourself because you don't want to talk about it and you don't want to get it off your chest. Yeah, when
yeah,
I'm talking about if something is like messing you up emotionally, at least have someone to relieve that tension. Two,
yeah.
not on. Understand me. I'm not saying on. Two,
True, yeah, true.
speak to that person and go out with that person. I believe in this, guys. If you are pissed, nah, maybe it's because I'm an athlete or the athlete in me is saying this, but if you are pissed, wake up in the morning at sunrise and run. Nothing is more refreshing than running clean air, as clean as it comes, clean air, and looking at the sunrise. It it literally brings you to a place of tranquility. And if you feel like when your tension comes out through violence, get yourself a punching bag. More than nonsense out of look, it's fine. Get
My last video of what
35,000
offense needs to
photos
do.
of those people and just
Do
place
it.
them all around the world and just beat up walls and beat up punching bags and do that.
Mm.
But get that tension out of you. gents, we can't be beating up our women.
Yeah,
Please
obviously,
get yourself
yeah.
a punching bag. You angry
Yeah,
at her? Get
don't
yourself a
vent
punching
your
bag to go and deal
frustrations
with
out on the
your,
aunt.
yeah,
Yeah.
to go and deal with your issues, and come back and treat her like the gem you wanted to treat her when you walked into that relationship.
And earlier on, um, I mentioned something about love bombing,
Yeah.
right? Where, and I linked it to the honeymoon phase. The thing is, sometimes love bombing can go unnoticed. You give the attention, and then later on, I circle it all, right? And then now you're gonna wanna keep chasing that same thing, but the person that I let, and then the explanation of it is going to be, nah, I really don't roll like that a lot, you know. And people need to be careful of stuff like that because it as much as it goes unnoticed, that is a major thing of love bombing. So when you go into a relationship and you do something and you show your love, you feel your love, some things need to be kept consistent. Some things vele they're gonna die out, but that doesn't mean Uguti you now leave everything that you started. You know, why did you show me that you can?
Sometimes it's not just that phase, it reoccurs. Did we touch on
Yeah.
abuse?
That's why I touched on and said Uguti. Some people do it intentionally so that they can keep the person
Did we
around.
touch?
Because they understand that a person with low confidence is always going to come back to them.
It's selfish that people are able to do that. To like continuously bring you back, knowing that you deeply have feelings for them, but they keep bringing you back just for that attention.
Even friends, dog. Especially like there's a lot of things that go unnoticed in a lot of friendships that you don't understand. Guti, I don't know a lot of examples because I didn't research much on the friendship side. But the
Yeah.
one major, let's say a person is absent, right? One of your friends is absent. They're doing things like without you, right? And that's perfectly okay. People can exist outside of you. But the issue
Yeah.
here is they hardly ever include you in your life, yet they make it seem like you're important in their life. There's hardly any evidence of you being important in their life
Life.
as
Yeah.
much as the friendship is. They claim that the friendship is good. And there's been so many. Okay, that's why I have such a small circle of friends because I can't really relate to a lot of people like that because they participate in a lot of these things that I've never understood. It's only now that I'm beginning to understand. But back then I didn't understand it, but I knew what they were doing is wrong. So I kept my distance from a lot of people. And instead of trying to being fake and lovey-dovey and like, yo, chomi, umngani wami, yeah, cho, if a person comes to me with oh chomi, listen, I would react and say, who you calling chomi, dog? I'm not your chomi. I'm not your friend. I'm not your friend. I really am not your friend because it really does normalize the thing. You would see people can come and go. The acquaintances that you have can stay acquaintances, but I can't be your friend and you treat me like an acquaintance, but keep coming back and say, hey, yo, bro, I miss you. When are we gonna link? We link, we
Yeah.
have fun. We have fun for a moment. You know, we go out. We or Umuntu comes over to my crib, or I go over to their crib, or whatnot. Whatever the dynamic is, and then goes on with their life without ever showing that type of friendship that they claim that they have, or the thing that they have to me. So that's another form of trauma bonding within friends. If you want to show a proper example of self-love, it's removing is realizing that you're in such friendships or in such relationships. Do not come with the idea, Yuguti, you are right just because you're like, I know my emotions. You don't know your emotions. You know what you're familiar with, and with that is hurt. That is hurt at that point. So you listen to them. That's where listening comes in. You listen to them, and you find solutions within. a lot of the times I didn't even realize that I felt alone, but I spoke to my parents and I didn't feel alone because they were welcoming, right? Because they grew up, I grew up around them, so they know more of me than I actually thought I knew. And speaking to them helped me realize a lot of things. Speaking to Ofentse helped me realize a lot of things. So it's good to be able to open up a little bit to umuntu to help understand your own emotions.
So
Yeah. Oh, my, how long have you been talking for?
Yeah, I was
I
thinking of a closing
see over
statement.
1 hour. I just wanted to touch on something real quick. I don't think we mentioned abuse yet.
I feel like that could be another topic,
But like I
though.
honestly think that the other time we went in that I don't think we go that much in depth with
We didn't
abuse.
go deeply into it. We didn't go deeply into it, but touched into
Let's
it.
make
But
up
yeah,
this next week's
I f-
topic. It's
yeah, should we?
like we telling them now, like next week's topic is going to be abuse.
But like
Yeah,
none of us have
it needs to be a
experienced
main topic.
that. Like okay, we might.
That's the
I
thing.
haven't
Yeah, none
experienced
of us
it,
have.
so that's why
Like
I'm like,
the physical attribute or the physical abuse of it. Emotionally, we can talk about the emotional abuse that comes with it, but
mm.
physically, ish.
Yeah,
Okay,
But yeah. Abuse is going to be next week's topic. Uh so
okay, but
yeah.
like before we
But yeah.
close, man, I'm sure there's like
Mhm.
someone out there probably watching right now. They be like, man, nah, what's the term? Nah, he tweaking. Like,
yeah, nah,
nah,
it,
he,
Nah,
like they don't understand the concept, and they'll be like, why would someone stay? They just don't get it.
I feel like what people should know is that we're talking based off our opinions and of our experiences. We're not talking based off factual facts.
But
At times, 'cause at times we do
Time.
research and we actually do see that okay, this and that has been happening throughout, but not. But most of the times, I've noticed that we do talk of our own opinions and our own experiences because we do bring in our own past stories and everything that's happened to us.
I used to ask this question myself, like, okay, it's abusive, but why are they staying? It's the little things that contribute to it. Over time, things chip at you. Over time, that unhealthy addiction, it grows stronger.
Mm,
And with that and with that happening, it becomes a little more difficult for you as a person within that type of toxic relationship to leave, because it could even touch on a sort like some childhood trauma that you've had, and you thinking that you can fix it within the relationship by fixing the person, by thinking you can fix the person, that's why I urge a lot of girls to stop this mentality of I can fix this person, because at some point it could even touch on something that you view of yourself. It reflects on something of your past or something that you would like, to be fixed or balanced, but you projecting it off of someone very that could be potentially very dangerous towards you, right? And once that person shows love and affection towards you, you feel like you've succeeded, right? And then boom, it goes to the abusive side. And then now you're gonna stay and say, "What, he's a good man."
people say love is blind. Yeah, it's like nah, love is blind. Man, shit, cockroach.
It's the shit crocodile.
Yo, this Jen. Yo, Amandla's been the comedic relief of this entire
Yo, dude,
section, dog.
just gonna edit that part out. Don't edit it out. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I won't.
Yeah.
Love is not blind, James. Love is not blind. Your parents love you and they correct you when you go wrong. They don't just turn a blind eye, they correct you.
yeah,
Love is not blind. What people say love is blind, love is not blind. You probably like don't realize it yourself. Like we didn't until we researched this. And you must realize that people have like these autonomic responses when it comes to conflict. Né? Most people would think it's just two fight or flight. There's other another
Yeah.
two. There's freeze and fawn. Okay, so freeze basically it's basically Takemichi.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Okay, but for the people
Okay,
that don't know, can you please explain it properly?
has anyone ever experienced sleep paralysis? It's basically that
Yeah, I
in the
have.
real world, like you, like let's say you come across a
Can't
snake,
move.
like you're gonna freeze in
Mm.
place. You won't be able to do anything. So that's basically what
Oh
happens in a
yes,
relationship. Like a
yes.
person doesn't know what to do at all. They like frozen in place. They don't know how what to do, where to go, how to get out. They don't know if they should tell someone. They don't know if they should get help or anything. And then there's
Yeah.
fawn. Fawn is a new word I learned. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, fawn is like a cringing,
Mm.
a cringing affection.
Yes, yes. Speak your
It's a cringing affection, basically. So, like, what will you say? An addiction to a person. You basically like you come across a snake, and it's about to bite you, and you're like, oh, what is such a cute snake? It's so misunderstood, and all stuff. Like, it's gonna bite you, but you still wanna appreciate it. So that's fun.
Yeah.
So things like that happen. Like in a relationship where like someone will see the good in a person, even though there's no good in at all, they would
That's
willingly.
something new I
yeah.
learned.
Mhm.
What are actually the best ways to counter that? Sometimes being stubborn, gomuntu, and saying I'm not gonna give you up is a
Mm.
problem.
So my closing statement is: we have all been faced with trauma bonding at some point. It might have been on a small scale, it might have been on a large scale. Uh, to our brothers, our sisters in these kind of relationships, be it family, be it friends, be it intimate relationship, the best way to walk out of that relationship is to spot it whenever you argue, has the audacity to even raise their hand, not even hit you, but to form fists with their hand or to vase you. I don't know what vase is in other language, but like to like kind of like, yeah, make a movement of trying to slap you but not do it. Yeah,
Just leave.
like,
That form of intimidation, you know, that
yeah,
type of okay.
if they do that, walk. For those that are in too deep and have started watching this and have started realizing, kudos, kudos, because realization is the first step, and getting out of this situation needs you to be very calm and very quick at the same. I
And
would
cold.
advise you, if you are living with that person, move out. If they are very abusive, move out when they are not there. Please go back home, because home is where you're safe. And if the person at home is the one that's traumatizing you, go to your grandparents. If it's your grandparents that's traumatized, once you've left that situation, social media, block, delete,
Yeah, true,
block,
true.
delete. My
With social
sisters,
media.
change your guys' sims, because these niggas are tracking your guys with your phone numbers.
Change
Please
your
go and
email, dog.
change your SIM
Change your
card,
email.
change your email. And it's like, you know what? Have an email for relationships. Here's my tip for the day. Have a email for relationships. And please don't post it on social media. This
Yeah,
is not
don't.
about
Don't
uh, uh,
post your
uh,
hurts on social media.
don't wait for like some time when something is trending, like hashtag not in my name, and then
Yeah.
go and be like, yeah, 7 years ago, this guy did. Look, deal with it. I know sometimes it's good to help someone, but rather have those that have not dealt with that situation, that are speaking out on social media through lives because they haven't dealt with that situation. Please be that person to help them, because you've been in that situation and you know the pain that comes with that situation. If you have a friend that you can see is in a situation where they are in that trauma into trauma bonding relationship.
Don't let it get to the point where it got me, where I had to where I felt like I had to end my life because I based my life off of like around this person. It took my friend almost having that type of murder intent, to show that intent to this person would severely hurt me if I did not listen. To get me to calm down, to get me to understand what they say. Don't let it come to that stage, because people can misinterpret a lot of people's actions, and as a friend, consistently be there for them, show them that you care, and you be there back to your corner. Your type is oblimaza. your type your type is gonna hurt you. Well, not in all cases, but a good amount. Your type is going to hurt you. Yeah, when it comes to the addiction type of thing, forming that type of bond, that is not something to aim for. Aim to teach someone how you want to be loved and how you'd like to receive a certain type of love, right? But if you can see that it is too much, and if you actually communicate with someone instead of shouting at them, or once they stop doing a certain thing and you're like, nah, instead of letting them through who you are, because like I said, compatibility. Okay, wait, I didn't say it before, but compatibility mostly comes like after you started the relationship, because you can relate to a certain things. You'll find that you like the same things, like the same shows, the same music and whatever, but that's not really compatibility.
It's also the thing of people give up easily as well. It's just, man, it's over. Whatnot, 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 whatnot.
And another thing, gents, and
Weak
what's
gins.
important is forgiveness. Like, forgive the
Yeah,
person.
forgiveness is
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some people will say you
But
can lose.
don't forgive for points.
Nah,
Don't forgive for
I know
points.
a person. I've heard it. I've
How?
heard this
Sorry.
a lot. I've heard this a lot. Like, how do you forgive someone something like this? How do you forgive and forget? How do you forget such an experience? And I always tell them this
I feel like
story now.
It shouldn't be a part of the thing.
I always
I
tell
feel
them
like you
this
don't forget.
story now. You're not gonna forget. It's gonna be part of you. Now, let's say you cut
Yeah,
yourself now. You get a scar. So while the scar is still fresh, every time you touch it, you're gonna feel the pain. Everything someone pokes at that thing, you feel it. Eh. So forgiveness is basically the scar healing. And then the forget part is like the pain is no more there. Like you can think about that thing,
yeah,
but the pain is no more there. Like a scar. You can see the scar, but the pain is no more there. So let it be like
oof.
a lesson, not a
See
motto.
it, but yes.
Let it be a lesson, not a motto. Let it not be your default setting.
My closing statement is, um it is difficult to try to navigate through a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions when people aren't willing to be open and downplay factors like, or forms of help like, therapy, because they're not able to like articulate their own feelings. But some of the therapists are actually very professionally trained to help you navigate through certain things that you don't understand about yourself. Shying away from it, it hinders your own healing process. It hinders how you actually face a lot of situations in life, not just through relationships, but through your career path. It just fuels to a lot of the emotions that we don't understand that contributes to the gender war that is currently going on. Highlight gender this, highlight gender that. And that is not an appropriate way to try to let people know their faults.
Yeah,
That is not an appropriate way to try to navigate through your own feelings, because ultimately you won't even properly understand. I'm looking at the camera so that that the thing feels like Nkuluma now. Jolo isn't a pandemic. People cheating isn't a norm like
Don't
they've
know.
said.
Mhm.
Isn't a norm, and gaslighting should not be a part of what, like, if you don't understand a certain aspect of emotion or relationship, it's better to listen, right? It's
Yeah,
better to
true.
listen and to conversate than to blast someone on social media and downplay their own feelings. And then you speak to people so that you can understand some of the feelings that you don't understand. Yes, that's why I'm like, sometimes therapy, sometimes if you can speak to your parents, if you're cool with your parents, speak to your parents. Or auntie, uncle, cousin, if you have siblings, brother, speak.
Have y'all heard of Power? POWA, Power.
Yeah, the women's organization.
Yeah, there's also those people. There's like NGOs around. You can also find like I was privileged to like work with Power. I was volunteering last year with Mahla City. So we had a privilege to go work with them. We were handing out food parcels to women who've survived gender-based violence, and being in that environment, you just see what people go through. And it wasn't just the GPV thing. Matla City helped out a lot of people during the lockdown, people who've lost their job, and I was just
Oh,
privileged being there, seeing people's. We kind of you kind of puts the whole world into perspective, but I'm digressing. But yeah, there are places where you can go, and for more information, there's this site called Health Life. Health Life. So they basically deal with mental health and stuff. It's a blogging page, so where experts come and basically explain what people go through, and you might even see how to deal with most of these situations.
But yeah, guys, it was a heavy topic to go through, especially with the part of relating our own experiences and kind of like facing some of the stuff that I personally had trouble facing, but I'm healing. I'm healing. But yeah, it was a great session, to be honest. Tackled
yeah,
a major issue that people don't really speak about a lot and don't really know and define as love. Cannot that's why some people say love. I love this. I love that. I love One Piece. I love my laptop. I love my, it just puts a lot of emphasis, a lot of hectic emphasis towards an addiction per se, because there's a fine line between you loving something and you being addicted to something. If you have like an ex that it really didn't end on like bad things, but you're just not speaking, sometimes I'm not advocating for it, but sometimes it is good. Because I spoke to one of my exes, and now we actually even better friends than we were partners in a relationship. you know she could ask for something. If it's not too much or out of my power to do, I've learned to not force to do something, because it will end up having that hope and that expectation that something will happen,
mm-hmm.
and it will ultimately lead to the destruction of what you've built, the resistance that you've built. So yeah.
Yeah,
But thank you guys for listening to the Wholesome Hosts. Yeah, thank you for listening to the Wholesome Hosts. We really do hope that you have learned. If you have gone through it, you understand it, and you just watched, so that you can see if you can broaden your own knowledge of it. Kudos to you. And if you know someone who's going through it, do your best to help them. If you are someone who's going through it, we wish you the best. I really, personally, I hope for the best in your journey to healing. And hopefully, some of the things that we've said gave you a lot of perspective as to how to kind of navigate through it, right?
It's
I love y'all. I must say, I love y'all. It's contradictory to what I said, but I really honestly do feel empathy, and I really hope that you'll get through what you're going through. You're not alone. You're not alone. Um, and I hope that you actually find the help that you seek.